5, 6, and.
I want to be great.
And you're not.
We got Buddy Rich here. Little trouble there. You're rushing. Here we go. 5, 6, and. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will gut you like a pig. Oh, my dear God. Are you one of those single-tier people? You are a worthless pansy ass who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set like a 9-year-old girl.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast. My name is David Chen, and with me are...
Devindra Hardwar.
And Jeff Kanata.
And today, all we're going to be talking about is Whiplash, the newest film by writer-director Damien Chazelle. It stars J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. It's out in limited release right now. And this movie made a spectacular festival run. Sundance, Venice, like tons of, and Cannes, tons of film festivals, and has been reviewed incredibly well. So I was looking forward to this movie for the last 10, 11 months after I heard amazing reviews coming out of Sundance. And even more so now that I've gotten sort of back into music. You can find my work at youtube.com/DaveChenMusic. So, according to the IMDb plot summary of Whiplash, a promising young drummer enrolls at a cutthroat music conservatory where his dreams of greatness are mentored by an instructor who will stop at nothing to realize a student's potential. Jeff Kanata, we just finished reviewing Birdman a few moments ago, and I think you, like me, have been instructed by really talented people who push you to achieve greatness in your art. So with that as context, I mean, what did you think of Whiplash? Did you enjoy this film? And what did you think of the depiction of a mentor who would stop at nothing?
Yeah, I hesitate to go 2 weeks in a row talking about my acting school and my acting career, and I've been on stage. But boy, did this movie bring me back to being in theater school. It's about music and very much about music, but it is also about anything. It's about obsession. It's about striving for greatness. It's about being young and being young and ambitious and feeling that drive to make a mark on the world and be great. And boy, did I relate to that. I'm older now, and I've given all that crazy thoughts up, and I'm content to be mediocre. But boy, when I was young, I wanted to be, I wanted to be great, and nothing would stop me. And I spent hours in the library researching Shakespeare and reading every single thing that I could find that was written about a particular part that I was playing, or researching all the great actors and what they've done in certain roles and how different approaches. I was consumed by that pursuit, right? And I don't know of another movie that does it any better than this, that sense of a young person being consumed by a desire to be great. Usually on film, you see a movie like that, like this, in the context of sports, because that's really the only way American culture knows how to understand, striving for greatness is in the context of sport. I guess you could say Fame or even Flashdance did it in the context of art, but so much more often you'll find it's a sports story. We have this easy arc of trying to make the team and get into the big game, right? But here you get it in the context of this really fantastic music. And one of my favorite things about Whiplash is the fact that this isn't a rock and roll story. This isn't about contemporary music. This is about fabulous, wonderful filming of music that just doesn't ever take center stage in mainstream media. And God, the compositions in this film are fantastic. The photography of the musicianship is fantastic. Miles Teller, God, this kid, he must have been able to play drums before they cast him, but
he's experienced, yeah.
But I'm sure they put him through some serious.
You cannot fake drums like you can fake piano playing. Do you know what I mean? You cannot. I mean, okay, yes, it's possible that they used filmic techniques to kind of exaggerate his virtuosity. In fact, I would bet that that's the case.
Yeah.
But there's stuff he's doing that you clearly cannot fake, and he does a tremendous job at it for sure.
Yeah, I loved this movie. I really did. It's not perfect. It is. There is some strange thematic things that happen, particularly toward the end. It is. You said a wonderful thing last week when we were talking about Birdman, about sort of the themes of that movie and where it comes down, and maybe we'll talk more about that when we get into spoilers, because I don't want to specifically spell it out here, because one of my favorite things about seeing this movie was I went into it having no idea what it was about. I sat down, I didn't know who was in it, I didn't know what it was about, I didn't know anything about it. I just knew it had this title, Whiplash, and it just was such a wonderful experience seeing a movie blind like that. And actually saw.
Oh, really, Jeff? I don't think you've ever mentioned how awesome that experience is.
I just like to advocate for that. I just like to advocate. There's a independent theater chain in Los Angeles that's pretty prominent called Laemmle, and I saw this at a Laemmle theater. And before the trailers came up, they had a bumper before the trailers that said, "And now the trailers. Caution, they may contain all the best lines, the entire plot, and everything you need to know about the movie. You have been warned." I just thought that was so fantastic. But that's neither here nor there. I loved this movie. I think you should watch it on a big screen. I think it's available on video on demand. But I think you should watch it.
Not yet.
Oh, no?
No,
Okay.
no.
Do see it in theaters. Yes.
I think you should see it with a great sound system. It is great. I think J.K. Simmons is fantastic. What a juicy role for him to dive into. This is kind of like, what if J. Jonah Jameson was a music teacher?
Yes.
But
and less like lovable scamp, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Lovable curmudgeon.
Right. I mean, this movie really is like, hey, let's watch child abuse for an hour and a half.
More like J.K. Simmons' role in Party Down was a
exactly.
music instructor.
Yeah.
But he's great. The movie's great. Miles Teller is great. I'll get to some more specific criticisms that I have of it. But I think, boy, it's about that obsession. It's about that drive, and it expresses that so well. And it's really a simple movie about that kind of thing. It really strips away a lot of extraneous stuff, and we're just inside this experience of wanting to be great. And I really loved that.
Also, something to contemplate. So here's something humbling to contemplate. Damien Chazelle, who wrote and directed this,
Younger than all of us.
29 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
He hasn't given up his desire to be great yet, which is
About that.
really
incredibly humbling and depressing. And
He also wrote one of my favorite fun thrillers of the year, Grand Piano.
Right, Grand Piano, and wrote and directed Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench.
Yes.
Apparently when he was like 24 or whatever. And that movie has been very well reviewed as well. So
I
he's just
haven't heard anything about that. But Grand Piano's on Netflix, guys. Grand Piano. I cannot
This
get
is kind
over
of like
how
this is
fun that movie
kind of like it almost feels kind of like when Paul Thomas Anderson debuted Boogie Nights when he was like 27. It's not quite at the level of Boogie Nights, in my opinion. Like, Boogie Nights, in my opinion, is a masterpiece and probably one of my top 10 movies of all time. I don't know if this is going to make it up to there, but it's certainly one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah.
So, Devindra, your thoughts on Whiplash?
Yeah, well, I'm right there with you, Jeff, with everything you're saying. This is such a confident movie. It just feels so tightly put together. Like, we were talking about Birdman last week, and that felt like it was really great and ambitious and creative, but it felt like it was trying to do so many things all at once, whereas this is like laser focused.
Yeah, it's trying to do like one thing really
and do it
right?
really well.
Yeah.
And it's focused on this one kid who wants to be the world's best drummer, and he's already in a good school, but we follow him as he gets the attention of the greatest teacher here, and just gives it his all to accomplish this. And this movie kind of hit me because I played drums for over 5 years in school. Never at the level of this, never crazy conservatory level, although I've played some big venues in Hartford, guys. If you ever go to Hartford, you'll see the Bushnell and stuff. I
Nice.
played there, man. I played there. I was on that stage. I knew what that felt like. But this movie just kind of it almost feels like drumming just never really gets much of a due. Like, drummers, I think, are always kind of relegated to the background. They never get
want
much
your
attention.
daughter to go home with the drummer.
Exactly, right? That's the cool band. That's the uncoolest band member to be with. But the drummer, guys, the drummer is the lifeline to everything. If the drummer is off, everybody is off. The drummer keeps it all together.
There's
The
that joke. There's that joke. What do you call someone who hangs around with musicians? a drummer.
Yeah.
I can go all day, people. I could go all day.
There you go. But you watch this movie, you just see the insanity required to play some of these more complex songs. I think Miles Teller is fantastic. I've loved him in so many things lately, but this is just almost like it's like he gets to Taxi Driver levels of obsession in terms of what he's doing. And I love that this movie can make you root for this guy as somebody who wants to be great, but then also ends up hurting so many people around him. And there's so much going on here. I love the music. I love J.K. Simmons. This is probably his Oscar time. That would be kind of amazing, or some sort of major awards for him here. The music all around was great, and the technique in terms of how they edited very specific scenes, especially some of the crazier drum playing scenes, is amazing. You can feel it. This movie gets you, I think, on many, many levels. As it ended, I realized I was kind of sweaty. I was gripping the seats of my arms, and I had just sat through Fury the week before, and Fury didn't even pump me up as much as this movie did. This movie is insane, even though you're watching a kid play drums for a very long time. So I loved it.
This is the musical equivalent of 45 minutes of shooting Nazis in the face.
Exactly.
It's more intense than that, actually.
It's more intense, for sure.
I love this movie, guys. Thought it was fantastic. We were talking about Birdman last week and how that very few movies are able to capture the excitement, the magic of stage performance like Birdman. Mm-hmm. And I would say, the corollary for Whiplash is very few movies are able to capture how tactile the musical experiences like this movie does, right? The movie makes wonderful use of close-ups, and you feel you hear the physical sound, people putting in reeds, moistening them, unleashing spit valves onto the ground and stuff like that. And music is a very tactile, physically demanding experience. And this movie is able to, through brilliant use of cinematography, close-ups, and the performances, right? What is it physically affecting these people as they're going through it? This movie is able to convey that wonderfully, and so love it for that reason alone. The performance is elevated to another level entirely. I think J.K. Simmons definitely deserves an Oscar nomination for his work here. I think that let me ask you this question, right? Have you guys ever worked with a musician or a teacher that inspired you in this way? Because I definitely not physically
inspired you by berating,
not verbally abusive, but someone for whom you would go, you would follow this person into hell because you knew that they could make you great.
Sure.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. I've had teachers like that, but I've also specifically related to music. I've had conductors who were just this attitude, who actually didn't even care for it all. So it's a great technique if you can actually inspire people. But if you're not a very good conductor and you're just making everybody feel like crap, then it's not too successful there.
I like how the movie is able to kind of have it both ways in that sense.
Right.
I don't think it comes down on the side of, hey, J.K. Simmons' amazing teaching technique should be adopted by professors all around the country. It's not like that. It's very kind of ambiguous in terms of how it wants you to perceive his methods.
I think we should pick up this theme in spoiler talk because I have some very specific things I want to talk about.
Agree completely. Okay, so also love the music. And yeah, it just, I'm not a huge fan of jazz, but how sometimes you're not a huge fan of X, what this movie is covering, but then when you watch the movie, you become a fan of it.
Sure. I've been listening to this soundtrack nonstop, by Justin Hurwitz. He composed he composed the overall soundtrack, but he also helped put together the songs they were playing.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's great. It makes me want to listen to it. Now, in terms of, go ahead.
Really quick on that point. It very much reminds me of the idea that, people say, "Oh, Shakespeare, it's so uninteresting. It's so boring." They're speaking a different language, and then once you speak it, once you perform it, most often you fall in love with it through that way. In the same way, I think jazz is something that performing it or participating in it, you learn why it's great. And I think this is the first movie that puts you inside that experience to the point where I went, I get it. I love what this is about. I want, I have an appreciation for jazz that I've had for a while, but it's a wonderful way inside the experience, which is what you kind of need for this sort of next level musicianship.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, Justin Hurwitz, the composer and I guess conductor throughout this film, also a writer in The League and The Simpsons. This guy,
Nice.
That's crazy.
All right. In terms of flaws in the movie, let me just say this. So I think I will say that something I think people have a love-hate relationship with on the Sci Filmcast is how me, Dave Chen, who I've been called out repeatedly, is always able to find something wrong with everything I see.
Yes.
And so
it's just how you view the world.
It's just how I view the world. I just view it by its flaws. Now, I will say that I had to think really hard to find problems with this movie.
Well, I think there's some clear problems at the end.
Yeah, I think the last act, which we'll talk about soon, is pretty preposterous for a number of I just didn't buy it as plausible on multiple levels, and we'll talk about why that's the case. But I think the only thing, and the only other two things I would point to as things that could be improved, it's again, this movie is so ridiculously good for, and as a film that this guy who's younger than me made. It's just
second movie,
ridiculously good. Okay, but so I feel nuts even pointing out these problems. But I think I think the issues that I would point to are the sort of emotional arc of the Miles Teller character. I think to me the obsession and how he went into it and how that affected his life happened a little bit abruptly, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah?
I think there's this very tense dinner table scene where he's basically an asshole. And I don't think you really get enough of a sense of who he is to know whether that scene is a significant development in his personal life or if it's just the way he always was. Mm-hmm. And I think
I really disagree.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. We might disagree on that point. And then the only other thing I would say is the female character Melissa Benoist, who plays Nicole, is given basically nothing to do in this movie. I mean, she functions.
Great.
She's great, yeah, but she functions essentially just as a plot device and not much more. And so those are the only things that. Yeah, I mean, I she's obviously a very lovely looking person and seems very talented. Wish she had more to do, and I look forward to seeing her in more work in the future.
And nothing is made of the fact that this is an entirely male class. Is that something that is typical?
There were females in there.
Yeah,
there was.
Yeah, it was pointed out. In fact, you mean? In the guys in J.K. Simmons is his core band or whatever you're saying.
Yeah. There were females?
Well, in the initial band that Miles Teller's character was in, there was a female. In fact, J.K. Simmons points it out. Let's see if you just got this.
Oh yeah, but that's not what that's not the movie, right? That's barely the movie. I'm talking about the actual high level class. There's no mention made of the fact that this is all dudes, and I wonder if. I wonder if functionally that's because the sort of kind of language that J.K. Simmons' character uses would be more difficult to get around if there were females.
Right, he would be even less forgivable if he was berating females all the time, right?
Or using that kind of locker room talk. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, because as is, it's barely plausible that someone who talks like that would not get fired immediately in our in today's culture, right?
Well, but in sports, that exists today. That happens every day in the world of collegiate sports, right? We've seen just last year or early this year, that video that came out of the dude throwing basketballs at people's faces and berating them because somebody on a cell phone was recording it. And what's his name? The Kentucky basketball coach, famous. What's his name?
I know who you're referring to, but I don't know the name either.
There are numerous examples of this in sports, and I've definitely had versions of this, not to this extreme, obviously, but you hear about Juilliard and Yale and big drama schools also, where the entire modus operandi is to break you down before building you up, is to strip away all of your confidence before instilling it in you. And that's sort of an accepted, I would really like to study that way. This is not implausible, it happens.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Although you're saying maybe from the perspective of the film alone, whether or not his language would have been viewed as even more abusive than it was if there was more females in the class. You're saying,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe in fact, I don't know. I just don't have enough information. So, is there any other thoughts before we move into spoilers, guys? Other than see this movie because it's awesome.
See it, and it's probably going to be leaving theaters soon too. So see it soon because it's not going to be the same experience on your TV or your iPad or whatever.
Yeah. See it in a good sound system, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move into spoilers for Whiplash starting right now.
Now you're looking for the secret.
Trying to see this coming.
No,
But you won't find it because, of course,
you're not going to see this coming.
you're not really looking.
I have been puzzling over how it works.
You don't really want to work it out.
I have been dying to tell you. I want to tell you my secret.
You want to be fooled.
So I would say everything after the car crash.
By the way, the car crash is. We've seen a lot of that, getting
from that angle. Yep.
But to have it stay in that angle and roll with him and land there and just sort of sit there with him upside down, I thought that was so powerful.
Now, you could make the argument, and I know some people will, that Miles Teller actually dies at that point in the movie.
Get a psychotic break.
He dies, and everything after that is just some pre-death dream. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not joking that some people might actually think that, but let's put that interpretation aside. I just think everything that happened.
Let's put a pin in that.
Let's put a pin in that. I just think everything that happened after that is like wildly implausible.
I'm not sure about everything. So I think what happened directly, right, is he goes in and he actually makes it to the session, and then he just like messes it up and he gets kicked out. But I think that whole ending sequence where he gets blindsided with just like a piece he didn't actually learn, I thought that was incredible, guys. Because first of all, that is a fear anybody who's performed has had, right?
Yeah.
You're ready to be judged, right? It's your nightmare to be, and I felt that so viscerally, like as he was failing to put that together.
Oh yeah, and that was brutal.
It hurt, but I love.
Why did he try? Why try? Just sit there.
Yeah,
that's true.
I agree.
The way he turned that around and made that was powerful for me. So that whole final bit really worked.
But I agree with you, Dave, that I did not for 1 second buy that bloody ass kid shambling in and sitting down. That he's going to continue.
He's dedicated, man. He's dedicated.
Well, not only that. Okay, here are like all the things I found implausible. Firstly, that he apparently wasn't wearing a seatbelt. So the idea that he would be like okay enough to even make it there, I thought was pretty weird.
Yes.
Then that J.K. Simmons, J.K. Simmons' character would allow him to perform in that condition. He's visibly in physical distress. So that Fletcher would allow him, when there's like an alternate right there, two alternates, right? That he wouldn't like. So
especially he's established the fact that this is the ultimate for him. All he cares about is winning the accolades that these competitions provide, and he doesn't care about setting him up to fail here. He wants to win.
Yeah, he wants to win.
Want to win.
And then the Andrew character physically assaulting Fletcher.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the idea that they would
such a movie. It's such a movie moment.
Yeah, that they would be like on speaking terms after that. They would. I don't know, like everything that happens after. So, okay, the assaulting thing I didn't think was that unrealistic.
That could happen, guys.
That could happen. I do think
to punch a conductor or two.
I do think like push to the limit, someone could definitely do that. But then afterwards, like Fletcher offering him the part, even as a setup, like that Andrew wouldn't think that that's fishy in some regard because. I mean,
well, here's the thing.
Andrew freaking assaulted him. He assaulted it. Like Fletcher could have pressed charges for that. Like it's.
Well, he did throw a symbol at the kid's head. So
yeah, fair enough.
Or something.
But the thing that bothers me most about that is that the movie completely changes what it's about. Right? It becomes this battle of wills between these two guys. And as a movie about battles of wills, it has a pretty thrilling and exciting climax, as Devindra mentioned, and I agree with that. But it wasn't a movie about that. Right? It was about this kid and the journey that he goes through in attempting to achieve greatness and realizing what he has to give up for that, and then having some remorse about giving things up. And I think, Dave, actually you said it really, really well last week when we were talking about Birdman. I think it applies to this movie as well, as the feeling that it's truly more about people and families and human beings in your life than achieving these things. And I think he wonderfully comes to that point. He makes that phone call, that reaching out and realizing that there's people in his life for whom it is more important to live than sort of this empty quest for notoriety, really. And then the movie just sort of completely drops all of that in this.
I do think it's
stupid-
justified, though.
Yeah, I actually agree. If I found the ending more believable, I would love it. Because I think thematically it's the idea that the journey is that after all of this crap that they have been through, that he has finally reached the point where he has earned Fletcher's respect.
Yes,
Fuck that.
That's me. That's me bringing my baggage to it, Jeff. Because there was a conductor in my high school, right? Mr. Leonard. People who know me from since high school who listen to the /Filmcast, that is a conductor who I just thought he was so brilliant, and I would have done anything to earn his respect. And actually, I would argue that at the end of my musical career in high school, I did for a brief moment. And there's just something I just understood the drive behind that, and to witness that happen in such a spectacularly filmed fashion was very satisfying for me.
I agree. I don't disagree, but I loved the fact that it was about this kid maturing, because that's a young man's desire, right? That's a young man's desire, is to please dad, to please the authority figure, to finally earn the respect. And what an adult realizes is fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. And his Ayn Rand horse shit. Fuck that perspective. That's not the idea that this movie kind of expresses from his perspective and Miles Teller's character kind of goes, oh, interesting, is horse shit, right? Well, it's horse shit.
Before we get too deep into this, guys, that is one interpretation, but I don't think that's the only way to read this, right? Because to what you're saying, Jeff, I see you thought the movie was being built up to this thing where he learned about the value of family and other things, and not just the obsession. I don't think the movie was really about that, though. The movie was about his obsession and his desire to become the best, and the only reason he gave it up was because of this crazy situation, this crazy accident. He punched his teacher. He didn't leave by choice. He was kind of thrown out, and he had just basically realized he couldn't really do much else, right? He just gave it up. He gave up in general. But I love that that's the story of so many of these movies, right? They learn the true value of life and they move on and they put it away. But not this movie. This movie, it comes back. Like that ghost, at the end of a horror movie, or that final shot in a Nightmare on Elm Street or Carrie or something, where it's no, the horror is still here and it's back. And for me, the ending wasn't about him earning Fletcher's approval. It was about okay, you're fucking me up. Okay, I'll show you.
It's Karate Kid.
It's Karate Kid.
It's the end of Karate Kid.
It sort of is, but the whole thing is that, he is showing up Fletcher, and that's exactly what Fletcher wants. Fletcher doesn't want his approval. Fletcher wanted him to be the best. And that the culmination of that whole theme, I think, worked really well for me, despite the whole car stuff being ridiculous.
Well, one thing that I thought was implausible about that last section was the idea that someone of Fletcher's stature, who we're talking about, regarded as one of the best conductors in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So he is already not in a good situation because he got ejected from his job, and that was bad. The idea that he would jeopardize, one of his first major gigs afterwards just to get revenge on a kid. I guess I can buy that he's that nuts. I guess I can buy that he's that insane.
What if he realized this was his last shot to push him, to bring him out of retirement? To push him to the stratosphere. I don't know.
So he sees him in the back of the club, and he formulates this entire plan in that instant.
Yeah,
right?
He's a Machiavellian master.
I don't agree. Devindra. I think he's clearly bringing him on stage, not giving him the music, which, by the way, that would never happen. To humiliate him. He wanted to humiliate him. But then the idea that so then. What was your game plan after that, Fletcher?
You do have to accept that, yes.
What was your game plan after that? That he was just going to walk off stage and then you were going to continue the rest of the show with no drummer? Like, what was the plan there?
So I think there wasn't there still?
No, there was no backup there. There was no backup. So that was
so that's a lot to buy. Yep. But the thing is, he has a reputation. He has a whole career behind him. So even to do this, but to kill this one kid's career before it even starts, that would be the ultimate revenge.
The thing that frustrates me is that the movie wants that moment so badly that it's willing to ask you to excuse all the stuff that Dave just brought up, right? It's contriving to get to that moment so bad. And granted, the moment's awesome.
It's awesome. It's so good.
I loved the moment. The moment of him doing that solo, how J.K. Simmons expresses wordlessly his transition from being furious to being admiring it is incredible.
Also, the moment when he does the double time swing.
Yes.
That is so technically challenging. And I love those scenes building up to that moment when he's physically practicing. And it's just like, as someone who has been practicing a lot of cello recently, it's just like, there's just so many moments when you know what you're trying to do, but your body physically can't achieve it. And the movie brings that out so well. And then when he finally achieves it at the end, it's a beautiful, beautiful moment. Okay,
it is. He learned the special move, right? He learned the swan kick.
Yep.
He learned the movie was so much more than that to me. As much as I will say again, I thought that moment was awesome, but the movie was better than that, and it didn't need to, shoehorn me into that moment by forcing all these kind of convenient, improbable happenings. Right? It was. I was already so with it, and I was already so behind this kid, and I loved the truth of what was happening that we didn't need to go there to just contrive to get to this moment. It bothers me.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Jeff. So
yeah, I mean, it's Grand Piano, by the way, has very similar things. Right? A lot of plot contrivances to kind of get you there. But I guess I can kind of see what Damien Chazelle is getting at. And for me, you guys still like the ending pieces. It's one of those things where you do have to accept certain insanity, like certain plot holes, certain plot contrivances to get to where you are. For me, it's worth it. But if the movie, if the movie didn't land that ending so well, if it didn't get his failure and the whole expression of him just being embarrassed as hell on stage, because they really hit the fact that these people in the audience never forget, right? This is your career, and you can see it. You could see him realizing he was just walking away before, but now his career is ending and he is making it happen. And I love that whole, it's all that performance. And then the turnaround to doing his own thing and succeeding. It was so powerful that it worked despite the contrivances.
I just want to say I said swan kick, and of course I meant crane kick.
Yeah, I was going to say crane kick.
Hold your emails. I know I got that wrong.
What do you guys think of? What do you think happened in that folder, guys? Any thoughts?
Yeah,
that was a little weird. It's a little supernatural,
supernatural. Or I honestly I think the movie eventually shows he is a little sociopathic. He is a little taxi driver in him.
Who, Miles Teller?
Miles Teller's character, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just did something. It was oh, it's gone.
It's just weird. It's weird because in the language of the film,
yes.
It's
you don't see it.
You see everything that Miles Teller intends to do. So
yes.
So that is what did what happened? It just I will say this. I don't think Miles Teller intentionally lost it. I think the way the movie conveyed it was a bit confusing. But that being said, I have totally had those moments where I'm at a musical concert that I'm supposed to perform at, and I put the folder down somewhere, and then I can't find it. That has happened before.
Maybe somebody was trying to haze him. I like the interpretation, though, that he messed it up because he realized that he knows this by heart, and he knows the weaknesses of his opponents.
When you say he messed it up, you mean you think he intentionally lost
I think
I
think he did something.
All right, I think that's pretty, I don't agree with that, but that's fine. We
and just the conversation that he has with his with the girlfriend later on, this is not somebody who thinks like a human being, or at least with the emotional intelligence of a normal human. On
that note, Jeff, you said you disagreed with my assessment of that dinner table scene. So what was up with that?
That scene was great. I've lived that scene, without sort of saying what he said. I've lived that, how's your acting stuff going? Oh, great. Have I seen you in anything? No, but I'm doing this awesome play. Oh, plays. Wow, that's great. I hope you make some money. I've lived that scene, right? So it was very personal for me. And I did think that it felt like a moment he'd been through 1,000 times, but having been exposed to the guy who says the brazen shit that comes at the top of his head, now he's gonna call those people out on that. And it was extremely satisfying for me to watch, and a really fun scene. I really liked that scene quite a lot.
I think he did kind of earn that scene too, because it's like we see his confidence grow to the point where he has the confidence to ask a girl out, a girl that he's seen, for several months. And that's all part of this. Like, he thinks he's finally capable, and he knows he's accomplished something, but nobody else recognizes it because all they know is sports. Like, that's all they can understand. So I can understand that frustration, even though he acts like a total asshole during it.
What did you? Okay, so fair enough. I mean, I think we just disagree on that point, and that's cool.
The overall progression of his insanity is there too. Like, I think it feels almost linear until the very end.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know how much I agree, because I think maybe it's because Miles Teller is almost too good at the beginning. Like he seems so green at the beginning, right? Think of that first interaction, the opening shot, right, and how he interacts with J.K. Simmons that first time, and just he seems so inexperienced, and then
he's so timid,
so timid, and like half an hour into the movie, he's like cutthroat, like I'm gonna be the best. I mean, we've all,
It's a short movie, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the last question I have for you guys is what do you guys think of Fletcher's tactics and what the movie was trying to say about Fletcher's tactics? Because I thought it was brilliant the way Fletcher says at the end that the most damaging words he's heard of are "good job." I like that. I sympathize. I sympathize with this idea that we're too encouraging to people, and that there needs to be blood, sweat, and tears in the creation of something great. Oftentimes, not all the time, but that sometimes that can be a good thing. That can be a useful thing. But then
takes it to an extreme.
Love the rebuttal that maybe what if you discourage the next Charlie Parker from growing up? Yeah. And then Fletcher's realization, and seeming lack of self-awareness that, hey, I guess I've never had a Charlie Parker yet. And it's like, I wonder why that's the case.
Yes.
I mean, it does remind me of this conversation you and I had, Jeff, about when we had our Dreams After Dark podcast, and how you were saying how the wrong lesson to take from that Charlie Parker throwing a cymbal story is that you need to abuse your students.
Absolutely. I believe that with every fiber of my being, and that's, Devindra kind of cut me off from a probably embarrassing rant that I had just started on, but I think that Ayn Rand fucking bullshit perspective he's purporting is the worst. It's the worst. And the fact that people believe that, it's a young man's belief, right? And this character that J.K. Simmons is playing is the most insecure, impotent person, because he lives in that, because he's never grown out of it, and he is so I love the character because it just shows how bastardized that thinking can make you, and how that bastardized thinking can turn you into a monster, really. And I wish the film, I don't know. I think the film, you draw your conclusions from that, but I don't think that, personally, that perspective holds any weight.
Right. Now, I'm right there with you too, Jeff. I've known a lot of people, a lot of objectivist thinkers, and as you get to the higher echelon of certain fields, it's easy to believe that you are awesome because you work hard and you are awesome and you deserve it, and then it's a weird it's a weird recursive cycle almost. I do love that the movie gives Fletcher that one scene of learning about his past students passing, and the way he approaches that scene too just felt like, what am I watching here? This is not the same guy.
Right? It's a lie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Was it a total lie?
Yeah.
It's a lie. The kid hanged himself, and he wasn't in a car accident.
Right.
And it's a complete fabrication, and it's another manipulation that he's using on his students. And then, from my interpretation, is he uses his guilt it leads right into the scene of him torturing those 3 boys because of his own guilt in that situation. He knows the truth of what happened. We find out later the truth of what happened, but he knows it in that moment. And his own guilt is expressed the way any monster, any psychopath would. It's by refusing to accept it in himself and pushing it on other people. And he takes it out on those kids. And this is the idea that his point of view would be as legitimate as the other side is horrifying to me.
No, definitely. And
he's a child abuser. It's plain and simple. He's a child abuser.
Yeah.
Okay, but Jeff, so a couple things. Firstly, I think you're right about like how perspectives on things change over time, and maybe we're seeing, Damien Chazelle wrote and directed this, and maybe like if what you're saying is accurate about the maturation of the human mind and how you realize at the end of the day that, hey, actually there are things more important than being great and blah blah blah, that maybe an older writer director
exclusive. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sure, right. That maybe an older writer director might have approached it differently. So I'll concede that. That being said, Jeff, I mean, I hate to sound like I'm advocating for J.K. Simmons' style of teaching, but doesn't Miles Teller, does he not actually achieve what he set out to accomplish? Like, he actually becomes that great of a drummer, and it probably wouldn't have happened if he wasn't pushed that hard.
We would never have the pyramids in Giza if it weren't for slaves being whipped, right?
Yeah. Okay, that kind of different because this is opt-in, but okay.
Well, is it? Right? Is it?
He didn't opt into the abuse. Yeah, he opted into being taught, but
I think that's
he
very
was trapped
dangerous
in the
thinking,
abuse
Dave.
after a point.
It was very what thinking?
Dangerous.
Okay. I mean,
and there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things.
I think there is definitely a line that J.K. Simmons crossed. I think we've seen movies where teachers have been very challenging, but not like despicable human beings. Right. You know what I mean? And I think I will agree. Like, I think he crosses the line. I don't think like we should all like we should teach this J.K. Simmons. We should teach the Fletcher style of instruction. Right. I don't agree that that's true, but I do agree with this notion that like we should push people beyond what they are comfortable with, and that it will frequently lead to better results than saying everything's great.
I'm a big advocate of trying to push myself beyond what I think I'm comfortable with. I think that greatness comes from expecting high things from yourself, and being inspired by a great teacher can lead to that. But there's a vast difference, as my father would say, between being inspired, being believed in, being pushed, being shown a great example, and being abused. I mean, the irony here is that this is the model that we hold up as a paragon when we talk about the military, when we talk about sending our boys off, and boys and girls, I should say as well, our men and women into who have tough childhoods, who have problems, send them off to the military to get them straightened out, right? And this is the kind of thing that they go through, this kind of dehumanizing behavior that does have effect. It has what many people would consider a positive outcome. But at what cost? And what I think that this is – I mean, it's a bigger subject than our little movie podcast probably wants to get into, but it's certainly something that I thought about when I was watching the film.
Well, I think the fact that we disagree – it sounds like we disagree on certain elements, I think is a testament to how interesting the movie is, and how it doesn't spell everything out. It spells out enough for you to have a thought-provoking conversation about it.
Yes,
so
agreed.
All right, any other thoughts? Then let's wrap it up, guys.
One more quick thing. One of my favorite things in this movie is that there is a sequence toward the end that is just like 15 minutes of music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and nothing else. It's like it's just playing music, and how cool is that? You don't see that in movies, unless it's like a concert film, Anyway, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it is very cool. I mean, it's kind of like, and I love how the movie developed this like whole language of shooting a concert. You know how like when you watch a sports film and they're shooting like a football game, they don't show you like a full football game, like play by play, but they show you enough of it that you kind of get a sense of what's going on. Now, that being said, that's true for most of the movie. And then at the end, they're like, okay, we're going to stop doing that, and we're going to show you an entire performance from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And that makes it way more effective as a result, right?
Agreed.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, huge fan of the movie. Go see it if you have a chance. Let's wrap it up, guys. Devindra Hardar, where can I find more of your work on the internet this week?
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Devindra. I write about technology at Engadget.com, and I podcast about the Legend of Korra at RepublicCityDispatch.com.
Jeff Kanata?
I'm at Jeff Canado. That's with 2 N's and 1 T. I do a video game podcast called DLC at 5by5.tv/DLC. And I do a comedy show. Much funnier than talking about child abuse. It's called We Have Concerns at wehaveconcerns.com.
You can find my music at youtube.com/DaveChenMusic. Follow me on Twitter at Dave Chensky. That's Dave Chen SKY. Thanks for listening to the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. We'll see you guys later. Have a happy holiday, guys. See you in December. Bye.